Guys, so today we're going to do part 3, which is on abdeduction, which is basically you start from the end and you work backwards, right? Um, yeah, let's get into it. So let's think abdeduction. Well, let's maybe start with an example. So we have a claim. Let's just talk about, well, a conclusion. We have a conclusion. So if we have a conclusion, well, we can work backwards to find some causes or to find things that we really value, things that actually deliver the thing that we want instead of just maybe some random stuff or trying to find causes when we already know the answer. Let's try something. So let's do mail delivery. So let's think about the what's there. So what do we want? Well, we want our mail delivered. Okay. Well, how fast? Well, if there was infinite amounts of preferences, we'd probably say right away, as fast as possible. Right now, there's certain levels of convenience and inconvenience that we can deal with or that we'd want, but the faster the better. If something I want in my hands as soon as possible through whatever means necessary, that's a good thing. So we value getting the package there, exactly what you wanted, so no mistakes, so getting rid of mistakes. So the package that you wanted in your hands delivered to you, because they're going from somewhere else to your door or wherever your mailbox is or wherever the destination you want the target or you want the item. So we have the item. So should we change the item? No, because they selected. Okay, so now there's varying degrees of scale. Okay, whatever. Cool. So it's not about the individual item. It's about getting the item to them or wherever they want it, right? So the modern ways of conveyancing, so if that's the most important thing, getting the exact item to them wherever they want it, whenever they want it, however they want it, immediately, right? It's not about delivering things. It's about getting the package to the target, right? It's not about the whole delivery system and you got to get trucks and you got to get this, you got to get that, you got to this. Those are systems. Those are means to the ends, right? So by finding the thing that we want most, so let's just say the package to the target exactly the way that the person wants it or whatever, instantaneously, well, then we could think of a couple options. Well, we have conventional approaches like mail trucks, mail delivery, better systems, more efficient systems, things that involving getting rid of mistakes, Six Sigma, Six Sigma, getting rid of mistakes, making sure everything's accounted for, tracking everything, getting everything all set up, even getting rid of uncertainty about the whole delivering. That's why they have tracking numbers, getting rid of uncertainty or knowing where it is so that they can, make adjustments so the person that's ordering it can make adjustments to their lives, right? And this is all predicated that they're paying a fee or whatever to actually deliver it. So if we can get it faster than anyone else, they'll probably like our stuff more, right? So let's get to the essence of, so if we just get it to them as fast as possible, great. So let's think of ways. Well, faster mailing trucks, okay. More people so that there's less, you just get so many people delivering stuff at any given moment that the load that they have to, when they're going around, it's literally a direct route to their house. That's cool. You could do that. Now, just getting rid of the concept of what's conventional right now, and we think more in terms of creativity. If we had, if we just thought in our minds and we just visualized, okay, well, if that was the absolute principle, what would absolutely fulfill that? Well, instantaneous uh, transportation. You could also say well, what would technically be the best if you had to think of like a Star Trekian idea of what would technically be the best? It'd probably be the phase, right? Deliver package here, goes into the phaser, sends the molecules or whatever, reassembles, and then the person has it literally in their home. And it's like perfect. It's instantaneous. It's like that. As soon as you get in a warehouse, you put it in the phaser and then it's there, right? That would technically beat out the trucks, wouldn't it? Yep. Now, that's not really possible at the moment, of course, but to fulfill the principle, we found something better, right? So what would be another way? Well, you could have drones, right? Unmanned flying robots. Unmanned flying robots. Yeah, okay. All right. Well, basically, you could have so many of them, they'd be so cheap. You wouldn't have to pay them. You just have to pay repairs and electricity and stuff. They deliver packages. They'd be around central hubs, so they'd be closer to everywhere else. They'd also be not just one corporation, but they'd probably have several people, or maybe there'd be corporations that would specialize in basically doing the distribution for other businesses. Now that would beat out trucks, wouldn't it? Because it's cheaper. Because if it's cheaper for the supplier to actually get things faster, let's just think of the 10x rule. Like, to take over a major competitor, you have to do something 10 times better for 10 times less, right? Now, 10 times less, some people might not bite because they think it's a lower quality. If it's 10 times less than, like, imagine you had a car in the 19th century where only upper middle class people, not upper middle class, but like super rich people could own cars, and then all of a sudden, like, there was a super cheap car. Well, at the very beginning, people might have not trusted them as being reliable, right? Could happen. Imagine, like, there's like those things with brands, right? Where you have super high end, quote unquote, high end brands that. What if they drop the prices literally to $1? Well, the whole purpose of those brands is to be expensive and exclusive, right? It's not because the quality of the stuff is too different from just like stuff that you can literally buy anywhere else or buy much cheaper, right? The whole quality is the brand itself, and people buy brands not based on the intrinsic value, but what the thing means, right? So I don't know where we were going with that, but um, yeah. All right, so back to the topic. Okay, I totally lost it. Whatever. We're rolling with it. So if we start with the end result, which is abdeduction, we can also use the meta model to look at the claim or the principle and analyze the syntax. Like, does it have a subject? It has to have a subject, right? It has to, the thing has to have a body doing something to something else, right? That's the kind of form where you have, where you have a subject, you have what it's doing, and then the object that it's doing it to, right? So imagine I, I'm walking to the store, right? Now there's a deletion in there, which is from where. I said to the store, but from where? I'm walking from my house to the store. That's a complete sentence. Okay, there you go. All right. So you have me, you have walking, and then you have the store. So in relation to what? It's all about relationships, right? And then the walking is kind of like tells you what's about the relationship change. So you can use the meta model to pick apart the claim. So when you're reading books, sometimes you don't even have to look at the premises. You can just pick apart the claim. You can dig into the words. What does this word mean? What does justice mean? What does this mean? And then you start working down your meta models of all these different words, and then you'll find that probably the claim is not as good as the thing that you come up with. And that the claim that you come up with that actually fits the data much better will, is more true than the actual thing in the book, which is amazing. And you didn't know any of the premises, you didn't have any of the data, you just worked through the model and asked questions and then put that information together, right? Because you use the meta model, you can use the meta model and all these logic techniques of retroduction, induction, deduction, and abdeduction to help guide your questioning as well, to make them congruent, right? Another way to, we'll talk about this in retroduction, but basically So abdeduction, you have everything that happened, right? So this kind of works with induction, which you have all the data, all the evidence, all the blah, all the whatever, right? Then you have, basically maybe somebody's giving their opinion on what. This also works in if somebody says an opinion at the end of their speech, right? And then you can basically destroy their entire argument just by listening to the claim at the end and not listening to anything before it, just based on using the meta model to just outline every single word and what every single thing means, right? Every single what the total package is, which is very helpful because then you don't have to wade through tons and tons of lines. Like when you're reading, you're trying to get information. I'm making that assumption. You're just reading for information that you can use literally right away, not just some guy telling you observations about an anomalous phenomenon. Because that's not really helpful unless you just want to go on a trip. You know, uh, just somebody telling you a story or whatever. Now that's cool, but we're looking for information. So then you can find it basically at the end of the chapter. You look at the claim, and then you just work through the meta model, and then you can maybe skip through it and maybe find a couple emboldened sections where it has a piece of evidence or whatever. Some evidence is evidence, but then some of it's just opinion based on a story that they talked about for a couple pages. And sometimes the moral of the story is not the one that they came up with. It's like the story of the rabbit and hare, where basically it's like, well, this turtle just kept trucking on, and the rabbit, went all the way to the end, but he took a nap. And so then the turtle was able to catch up and beat the rabbit. So, if we extract any principle here, and they, usually take a ton of pages to explain a simple story too, as well. If we're the rabbit, we want to be the rabbit, and we want to take an energy drink so we can go to the very end and finish what we started. Okay, yeah, finish what you start. Also, yeah, okay, sure. A lot of yeah, yeah, sure. But usually the story, the moral that everybody talks about is that the turtle never stopped, no matter what it looked like, no matter if it looked like he was going to lose, he always kept going, right? And even though that rabbit had a total advantage, the thing is that laziness isn't really rewarded in comparison to the one that works through it and gets everything through. Well, that might not be totally true in terms of reality, because you know if you look at every major industry, it's the people that have the most passion and the most competence at the same time that are the ridiculous people that everybody looks up to or knows about, or at least tells stories about, right? It's the people that have the ridiculous passion, so basically the hair, and then they also have the incredible competence and the hard work, and they just have all these things together, and they just blaze through the race. So imagine the hair versus a Ferrari with a professional race car driver who literally races for a living. That's what the people that we admire in every single industry is. They're the race car driver in a Ferrari trying to race a rabbit that has no chance. Okay, so it's like doing, and that's just, but taking a caffeine drink is not really the main premise of the story. Okay, but you could easily see that by looking at the claim and then looking through the main details and seeing that they're completely incoherent, which also tells you whether it's a bad book or not, which is also in one of my other videos. But really, it doesn't, once you have the claim, it doesn't really take that much work. You don't have to really put things together. You just work through the meta model and you got it. And we also work through basically from first principles of what's most important. You identify what's most important, and then you simply pick the best option of what gets that result. Okay? Now, how do you know, imagine a mail delivery. How do you know that delivering mail is the most important, or like quickly or whatever? Getting it from point A to point B in the hands of the person right then and there, exactly how they want it. Why do you think that's the most important? Well, how would you know? Well, think of the verbs, right? Well, think of like everything that goes into delivering the mail, so that would be considered the verb. Then you have the organization that's doing it, right? The subject. Now, what's the cause? Well, the cause is that somebody wants something. And so if you give it, you can exchange that for a fee. And so if you give it faster and better and everything that they wanted and the customer satisfaction is great, then it's going to be amazing because that's what they hired you for, right? They want something, you deliver it. If you get products to people like this and you charge money for it, you'll make a lot, and well, that assumes if you can build an organization that does that, because it's the organization that does the heavy lifting and then the entrepreneur just builds the system for that to work, right? The product and the service is just the median of generating, um, is just the method of generating the cash flow that they need in order for it to actually be a functioning business perpetually. Yeah, so if you start with the most important thing, like literally the thing that it can't go without. Now, I didn't want to say that because we're going to talk about that in the next interview, the next section, which is retroduction, which is getting rid of everything it's not. So imagine having a mail delivery system where no mail is ever delivered. Like literally, it's so slow that the person that ordered it would die before they got the package. Like, you can't go without that, right? You can't go without that, right? So everything's in servants to getting the package to the person, right? And so if they don't do that in a specific amount of time, then the whole thing falls apart. It's not a business. It's not actually productive. It's not offering value as much as maybe somebody else would. So that's abdeduction, picking the most valuable principle, the result that you want, and then working backwards using the meta model, and then also the first principles of the verbs and the actions that would facilitate the result at the end. I'll see you in part 4 for retroduction, which is finding things that are not. What is not, and that'll probably be one of the most important videos because it's really cool. So see you then.